Dionysus was the Greek god of wine and fertility. Clearly, these tomb occupants intended to continue the lives they lived in Alexandria into the beyond.
I want all what I enjoy in life to be with me
of course.
In the other side.
Especially the wine. What a great place to spend eternity.
Despite its rather cartoon-like quality, the apparent opulence of this tomb demonstrates the desire of the Alexandrian elite to integrate into Egyptian culture. Yet in many ways, it was little more than a veneer, hiding the real force that would ultimately destroy Egypt. For where the external invaders had largely tried and failed, Egypt's real nemesis would be the Ptolemies' famous love of luxury and excess.
Much of this luxury was just a facade, for the royals of Alexandria, notorious for their love of display, were like actors on a stage. As one ancient commentator observed, everything in Egypt is simply play acting and painted scenery, a comment which cuts to the heart of this melodramatic monarchy, for whom image was everything.
Because while the ruling elite were living it up in Alexandria, other parts of Egypt were far from content. By the end of the 3rd century BC, Egypt was once more riven with civil war. Upper Egypt began to rebel, and it fell to Ptolemy V to try and fight the fires of anarchy. So not only did he portray himself as an Egyptian, he went even further in his support for Egypt's ancient beliefs. In doing so, he left the world one of its most famous ancient artifacts: the Rosetta Stone. It's best known as the means by which the French scholar Champollion was first able to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs in 1822. And we can tell that the inscription on the stone was of huge importance because it was written out in 3 types of script: Greek, Demotic and hieroglyphic.
In a way, you could almost describe it as a kind of news bulletin. It's the priests of Memphis issuing this decree to let as many people know exactly what the religious and the political policy was of crown and clergy.
And it particularly focuses on Ptolemy V's generous patronage.
The priests are praising him because he's the one that gives wealth to the temple and gives due honour and respect to the sacred animals, which were such an integral part of Egyptian religion. The priests really are grateful to their Ptolemaic pharaoh, who they see as wanting to sort of tap in to the ancient Egyptian culture and ancient Egyptian religion, much like Alexander had, much like the Sayites had and the Kushites had. They knew that to attain true power, true control in Egypt, you had to do things the Egyptian way.
Yet Ptolemy V's philanthropy came at a price. Keeping the peace in Egypt proved cripplingly expensive. So the second half of the Ptolemaic dynasty was riven by debt, corruption and vicious civil war. Soon the expanding Roman Empire bore down on a divided Egypt. Only the famous Cleopatra stood in their way. In the mould of great Uncle Alexander, she believed herself divine and managed to hold the Romans at bay for over 20 years. But not even the great Cleopatra could prevent the inevitable.
And so it was that in August 30 BC, Cleopatra's famous suicide brought an end to ancient Egypt as we know it. This epic culture, which had lasted for 3,000 years, came to an end in a matter of days when on the 31st of August, Egypt was formally annexed by Rome.
This was Egypt's point of no return. A slow, painful decline of Egyptian beliefs and culture until the arrival of Christianity, with its numerous temples abandoned, built over, or simply destroyed. Egypt's glories began to fade from memory. But Egypt's great story can now be traced back 20,000 years to the very origins of its magical culture, which had evolved from its unique environment, creating a series of sophisticated beliefs able to unite a country to build great monuments. It had survived chaos and famine, only to rise again in a glorious zenith of rebirth and resurrection. Even waves of foreign invasions were ultimately assimilated by Egypt's powerful traditions. And despite being eventually absorbed into the Roman Empire, the ancient culture had continued until the arrival of Christianity. Yet as the Egyptians had always believed, there would be a life after death. Cleopatra's Needle on London's embankment had lain forgotten in Egypt until the 19th century. But as pioneering Egyptologists began a 200-year process of rediscovery, ancient Egypt was reborn, and this time it went global. And what a privilege it is for us today to be able to see such wonderful things and capture just a glimpse of this fascinating ancient culture. The culture of a people at one with their environment and who captured through their timeless monuments their own unique view of the world. In fact, the story of Egypt is far from over, for its rediscovery means that it is only just beginning. And it's the things that made the Egyptians so very special have ensured that they're now known right across the world, and they've achieved their ultimate goal, to live forever.
The death of Alexander shakes the world. The empire of the Macedonian king extends over parts of Europe, Asia and Africa, yet no one is able to follow in his footsteps. His empire breaks up. Alexander's generals divide it among themselves. For a long time, they had fought side by side. Now Alexander's former companions are at odds over his vast inheritance. They go down in history as the successors, or diadochi in ancient Greek. One of them is Ptolemy. The childhood friend of Alexander has made it to the rank of general and became one of the 7 personal bodyguards of the king. Now he wants to rule himself.
Ptolemy I, the founder of the Ptolemaic dynasty, had been able to secure Egypt for himself relatively early. An excellent choice, as it turned out, since Egypt was economically prosperous and could be defended comparatively well.
From here, Ptolemy plans his next steps. In 321 BC, he pulls off a coup. He seizes Alexander's body, which one of the other diadochi wanted to take to Greece. Ptolemy has it brought to Egypt, to its capital Memphis. It's a tremendous gain in prestige, since whoever possesses the corpse can present himself as the legitimate successor of Alexander. Yet Ptolemy thus ignores the express wish of his dead friend. Alexander wanted to be buried in the oasis of Siwa, the place where he had learned of his divine descent. At Siwa, there's an important necropolis from the late Egyptian period. A huge complex with thousands of tombs carved into the mountain of the dead. The cemetery is used until the Roman era. Some believe Alexander is buried here. Alas, his tomb has never been found. It's probably only a legend that the Macedonian was buried here. He probably found his final resting place in Alexandria. Soon after the seizure of the body, Alexander's successors waged bloody campaigns against each other. They go down in history as the Wars of the Diadochi. The Egyptian empire benefits from its natural borders. An invading army from the Levant suffers heavy losses in the northeastern Nile Delta while trying to cross the river. Its soldiers fall victim to hungry crocodiles and wild hippos. Ptolemy triumphs. In 304 BC, he declares himself King of Egypt. As ruler and founder of a new dynasty, Ptolemy wants to make a clear statement. He launches several major building projects in newly founded Alexandria. The new Egyptian metropolis on the Mediterranean is intended to herald the power and durability of the Ptolemaic dynasty. One building stands out. The lighthouse. With a statue of the sea god Poseidon, it becomes the landmark of the city and will be counted among the 7 wonders of the world. Yet the lighthouse, or pharos, isn't merely an object of prestige. Its fire also serves as a beacon guiding ships to the great seaport of Alexandria.
It may even have burned 24/7, as fire causes smoke, and smoke too can be seen from afar. And the higher it rises into the sky, just think of the Native Americans with their smoke signs, the better the tower could serve as a beacon.
The lighthouse is said to have been up to 160 meters high, higher than the Great Giza Pyramid. Construction took about 20 years and was not completed until after the death of Ptolemy I. The tower is emblazoned by Egyptian sculptures. At the base, there are 12-meter-high stone figures representing Egyptian mythology. Where there was once a lighthouse, now rises a 15th century fortress. Back then, the Mameluke rulers used the ruins of Ptolemy's Pharos for its construction. To this day, it guards the port of Alexandria. Almost all traces of the ancient city have disappeared. Layer after layer, Alexandria has been built over. It's now Egypt's second largest city, urban, cosmopolitan, with a colourfully mixed population. A legacy of antiquity.
Alexandria was also very cosmopolitan. You had Egyptians, you had Greeks, you had people from all over the Near East, Libya, and all throughout the Mediterranean and African world, converging in this place. So it was a place for traders, for politicians, for people of learning, and also lots and lots of religions. So it was a real cocktail, and it was a sort of a powerhouse for ideas of all sorts.
Alexandria becomes a melting pot. It's the port of call for ships from all over the eastern Mediterranean looking to trade with wealthy Egypt. It's a new experience for the empire of the pharaohs. People from various regions of Europe flock to the country and find a new home in Alexandria. The ancient metropolis shows a distinct Greek influence, yet also Jews, Thracians, and other ethnic groups settle in Egyptian Alexandria. In the southeastern part of the city, the Ptolemies build a temple, the Serapeum. Here they worship Serapis, a hybrid deity that combines Greek and Egyptian characteristics. The remains of the Serapeum can still be seen in Alexandria today, a final testament to the heyday that began with Ptolemy I. When the ruler dies in 285 BC, at the age of over 80, he leaves behind an empire that's economically, politically, and militarily stable. His son, Ptolemy II, continues his father's policy, posing as a Hellenistic king, yet at the same time taking care to be a good pharaoh for the people and to involve the Egyptian elites. The country on the Nile benefits from this open policy. In 278 BC, the new ruler marries. His bride bears the name of Arsinoe. What's special, Arsinoe is a sister of Ptolemy.